Assalamu alaikum. This is one black man's opinion. Today is Salvation Saturday, and the word for the day is forgiveness. In 1 John 4 and 20, it says, if a man say, I love God and hateth his brother, he is a liar. For he that loveth not his brother, whom he has seen, how can he love God, whom he has not seen? You know, we all claim the supreme being. Well, many of us do. Not all, but many of us do. And sometimes we argue back and forth and say, you know something? Y'all worship a different God than us. But I can tell you, we're all catching hell from the same devil. So why don't we unite and work together and stop the spiritual gangbang in order to bring peace to the streets? I go to the word forgiveness because the point was raised to me earlier today, and I think it's in the 7th chapter of Matthew, where, yes, it is in the 7th chapter of Matthew, where Jesus starts off by saying, judge not, ye shall not be judged. And he goes on to talk about people who come in his name and actually say that I've done healing, I've cast out demons, I've done miraculous things, I prophesied in your name. And Jesus' response to those kind of people was, and many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have I not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works? And then I will profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity. Man, that's deep. So when people tell you, well, you know, brother, you don't know Allah, or you don't know Jesus, or whatever, you sound crazy. You better hope that God knows you, and you better hope that Jesus knows you. Because all those people were doing works, prophesizing in his name, casting out demons, and doing miraculous things. But yet, he rejected them. What was it? Judge not, and ye shall not be judged. When you and I take the position, when you and I put on God's robes, Minister Farrakhan tells us, and start judging one another, we're way out of bounds. Brothers, sisters, I'm going to tell you something. There are 3 types of love that are spoken of in the Greek that you find in the New Testament. There is eros, which is, that word's not found in the New Testament. However, eros is sexual or physical love. It is from God because that's how we procreate the species. Then there's philo, which is a brotherly or familiarly or family-related love. Now that's the kind of love that Peter kept responding to Jesus with. Jesus said, lovest thou me, Peter? And what the kind of love that Jesus was talking about was agape love, which is a perfect, unconditional, sacrificial love of God. Lovest thou me, Peter? And he would repeat them, you know I love you, Lord, but the kind of love that Peter was thinking about was philos, which was a brotherly kind of love. But Jesus was talking about a higher type of love. Lovest thou me, Peter? You know I love you, Lord. Again, he's talking from a brotherly and a familiar type of love. But Jesus said, lovest thou me, Peter? His last time he said, feed my lambs. Feed my sheep, feed my sheep, feed my lambs. So, brothers, sisters, the point is that we've got to have a kind of godly love that really is rooted in the kind of love, man, that Jesus expressed where he said, if your brother offends you, how should you act and react? Jesus said, if your brother offends you, you should forgive him 7 times. You forgive him 7 times 70. Man, I don't know about you. I went to college. I got a PhD, but I still need a calculator to figure that out. 490 times you're supposed to forgive somebody? Now, I'm not talking about being abused, brothers and sisters. But sometimes we just fall out over some of the silliest things. And this spirit of unforgiveness is in our community that's leading to envy, jealousy, and unfortunately it's leading to murder and violence within our homes, in the streets. Now these rappers are being killed, and it's just it's spiraling out of control. I read in the newspaper in Chicago that in Cook County they've passed 1,000 murders. 1,000 murders, 1,000 lives taken, and that's like dropping a pebble in a pond, and it leaves a ripple effect. How many families are affected? How many mothers are grieving? How many fathers are grieving? Siblings are grieving. Friends are grieving. Children are grieving the loss of their parents. 1,000 homicides? So, sister and brother, look, it's important that we get into those 8 steps of atonement that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan lifted up at the Million Man March. It's always been my contention that we in the Nation of Islam did a magnificent job in our work in organizing and financing and actually carrying out the Million Man March. But many of us have not engaged in what Minister Farrakhan lifted up, which is those 8 steps of atonement. Point out the wrong, acknowledge the wrong, confess the wrong, repent for the wrong, then atonement. You got to do something about the wrong. Then comes forgiveness, reconciliation, and a perfect union with God. There goes back to that scripture again. How can a man love God who he's never seen, but hate his brother and sister that he hates, that he sees every day? You know, you look at the 10 Commandments, you can break them down in the first 4 or 5, the first 5 of them, you know, you dealing with how you relate to God. But the last 5 is how you relate to your fellow man. And Jesus summarized it in such a way. We talk about love God with all your heart, your soul, your mind, and your strength. And then he said, love thy neighbor as thyself. But the master left us with a final commandment. And that final commandment was, love ye one another even as I have loved you. What kind of love is that? That agape love is the kind of love, brothers and sisters, that says to us that greater love hath no man that he would lay down his life for a friend. Well, you may take it as we got to jump in front of a machine gun or jump in front of a car to save somebody. But how about, why don't we just lower a wing of kindness? Why don't we take plenty, as Master Fard Muhammad said to the most honorable Elijah Muhammad? Why don't we have the same kind of love and enduring love that the honorable Elijah Muhammad showed through the 40 years of his work among us, even knowing that one day the Nation of Islam is going to fall and all of those who were around his table just about would turn on him, and all that he had worked so hard day and night to build would be gone. And he told Mr. Farrakhan once, when Mr. Farrakhan called him on the phone, after first having Family Day in that May, they had about 70,000 people around the island. Then he had to turn around just a spiritual meeting, no musicians, Delphonics, and all these other people. And he had a spiritual meeting. They had 40,000 out there. And he called Honorable Elijah Muhammad and said, you know, it looks like we're going to capture New York. And Honorable Elijah Muhammad told him, he said, oh, brother, the time will come where there won't be anybody in the mosque that believes but you. That blew the minister's mind. And the truth of the matter is, it came to pass with the minister, the mosque that he helped rebuild after Malcolm X, the city that he built, mosque number 7 all the way through 7T, the letter T. He stood across the street in a disguise with his violin up on his arm looking at the mosque because he had lugs dropped on him and a jacket that he had betrayed the people, stole money and did all of that. And hatred was in the hearts for the very people that he raised to Islam. Well, when you look at these men, look at Master Fard Muhammad suffering among us, getting punched in the mouth, and the brothers wanted to kill the man that punched him in his mouth, and he said, no, let him go. He'll be a good one day. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad ran from his own brother and his assistant minister and others for 7 years as they sought his life, because he taught that Allah came in a person of Master Fard Muhammad. He just wasn't Prophet Doug D. Farad. He was God in person. Then he went to jail. Think about Master Fard Muhammad going to jail even though he had the power not to. Think about these things. Think about Master Fard Muhammad knocking on the door on a Salvation Saturday. And your people and my people from the South know we cook pig's feet, chitlins, bacon, you name it, raccoon, squirrel, any damn thing we could catch. And that door opened up, man. You know, going out knocking door, them papers, them doors open up, and you don't know what you're going to see behind that open door. But imagine that smell hitting his holy nose, coming into a house. Maybe 10 people living together in a 2-bedroom house. Think about what he saw and what he experienced and how he suffered among us to make sure that he could raise up that one, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Think about Minister Farrakhan and his family for 9 years eating bean soup. Little minister in Boston. Who was he affecting? So much that somebody would hate him enough to firebomb his house with his family in it. To throw a firebomb on the front door and the back door so that they wouldn't get out, but Allah spared them. Think about a man that for 9 years went to the Fano market, fed his family bean soup for 9 years, and went to the Fano market, man. And he and Mother Khadija going there and picking out the vegetables and the refuge from the garbage of the Fano market, carrying it in the bag and carrying it home to feed their families. Man, what the minister has gone through in rebuilding the nation, the radioactive seeds that were put in him 3 times as many as he really needed for the prostate cancer, burning out his insides, the insides on fire, yet he's touring the whole world. I just celebrated my 65th trip around the sun, and I calculated that Minister Farrakhan was 65 years old in 1998. It's 2021, and he's 88, going on 89 years old, and he's like a Timex watch. He takes a licking, but he keeps on ticking. So I can't be no ways tired with an example like that in front of me. And again, how many times has he forgiven me and forgiven others for offending him? So, brothers and sisters, forgiveness is a key. If we want to stop the killing, if we want to stop the mayhem that's going on in our community, if we want to have better male-female relationships with our spouses, with our children, with our parents, within our communities, then why don't we settle on the Salvation Saturday word of the day, forgiveness. So, may Allah bless you, brothers and sisters, with a little bit more forgiving, a little bit more loving, some agape love. And may Allah bless you to love your brother and sister who you see every day, the same way you and I profess to love God, who we have never seen. This is one black man's opinion. What's yours? I'm Brother Student Minister Dr. Abdul Halim Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum.